All right, all right. All right. Peace and blessings. Haki Ami here. Hope you're doing wonderful. Hope you all enjoyed our last broadcast, the tour, Tanzanian Tour 2021. So I wanted to get into this discussion. A good friend of mine sent me this video of Professor Jared Ball, someone that I've known for some time and someone whom I respect. The brother participated on several of my events that I had here in Baltimore, as well as Prince George's County. And I think he sat in and hosted my broadcast for me. He and Dr. Haight Issa Ramu. So we all go sort of way back in many different spaces. But yes, I had one or two Malcolm X Day events. A few years ago, we did it at Everlasting Life, and then we do Blacks and Wax or Terra Cafe and a few other places. So, but I wanted to both share this video of him speaking, and what he's speaking on is Dr. Boyce Watkins that will be coming to the Maryland, Baltimore area for speaking. The topic is the Black business mentality. And, as the success scholar, I want to, sort of just delve into these topics because I see how many individuals actually see, their areas of expertise, and they push their areas of expertise, and they're not looking objectively, but someone who is on the ground working in many different spaces. I've been able to sort of converge all of these analysis to bring out a practical movement or a practical application for what needs to happen. And this is why, I'm very critical in terms of my thinking and how I position myself and what needs to happen. So Dr. Ball's premise is that a Black business mentality does nothing or may not do nothing, or, and he has a critique of capitalism, for instance, and he believes that we should, of course, focus on politics and have a political analysis of capitalism, as well as, of course, he suggests starting cooperatives, however that may look. But his critique was Boyce Watkins charging $50. So let me just bring that up and show you all, and you can watch and offer your critiques, and I'll show another one. Oh, wait a minute. Share screen and window. Let me bring it up. Okay, and let me press play. Let me go ahead and press play.
So this little bit of a breaking announcement that at least, I don't know, it's kind of silly, but I couldn't help but let me pull this thing up here, because I had to reach out to my dear brother and share a bit of disagreement. But so the good folks at Reality Speaks here up the road here in Baltimore are hosting this event, and because I'm on the listserv, have been a supporter of theirs for many years, done several events with them, support Brother Jabari and his work for a long time. I did have to send a little note and suggest that I disagree, and that in particular, Boyce Watkins his analysis and argument is problematic. So discussing him as, or presenting him as somebody who one should pay for. Now I know Soul Vibers Nation raises money and they do collective community work, so it's not, some strict money grab. But I know some of that is also to pay, I'm sure at least, I don't have proof, but I'm sure that some of that is to pay Watkins. He doesn't do stuff for free. Whereas some, allegedly behind the scenes, refuse payment for such events and have that money redirected back to the organization or to other more in need guests. This is being charged. This is costing folks some money to be told, about developing the business mentality, because of course, key to Watkins' argument is that we just lack a mentality. $50 in advance, $60 at the door. That's deep. Anyway, so I just voiced my disagreement and suggested that this is not, healthy politically or economically or otherwise for his audience, and and then he asked me, so you don't think it's important that we start businesses? And I said, no, it's not. And then I sent him my new favorite statistic, and invited him to get more. So I will invite him to get more. But that since 1992 to 2012, Black people created more than 2 million jobs, 2 million businesses rather, and yet their capture of the total national revenue spent went down to what it is now, 0.3%. This is not about a Black business mentality. This is about business and capitalism not being a solution. It's about that, again, we need political power, not economic power. By the way, to this extent, I disagree even up to a point with and I saw her interview again with Brother Sundiata. I hope you check that show out, Dr. Jessica Gordon Nemhard. I, to a certain extent, up to that point, disagree with her argument as well. This is not about we don't have enough cooperatives and credit unions. This is about political power, which is the only real determinant of what wealth is, how it's created, and how it's distributed. So for me, any discussion of banking, credit union or otherwise, business development, cooperatives or otherwise, is not a path that should be primary in our work. In the overall attempt to assume political power, if we're creating cooperatives and collectives and whatever in the process, fine. If we're supporting certain business ventures in the process of, I don't know exactly how that would work, but in some sort of process of moving towards achieving political power, fine. But this as the solution, and this is just, and I mean, he's demonstrating his business model, by the way. Get Black people to pay me to tell them to encourage that they engage in a process that I myself cannot engage in, have not engaged in, to accumulate wealth. My business model is selling the myth to you. Then clearly the myth can't create wealth for you or your community. But it's so anyway, my point is, Brother Jabari has invited me to, quote, stay tuned, because he said he's going to try to set up a debate between me and Boyce Watkins. I said he has already refused such an opportunity, so I'm told. And then he said he's going to find someone else to debate me. So I just said, please do me the honor of reading my work first, because apparently I don't think my dear brother has granted me that honor at this point. And then let's certainly, if someone wants to debate, I'm here. Let's have that debate. Um, yeah. So, but right on time. Right on time for that.
All right. So that's one clip of that. So I appreciate that analysis. Now, of course, Reality Speaks, they've also had Brother Polite come to the Baltimore area, which raised a significant amount of controversy, particularly amongst individuals like David Johnson Sr., who thought that Polite was not necessarily a good person to bring in front of people and to charge an exorbitant amount of money, or what he thought was an exorbitant amount of money. So, for with that being said, uh, we certainly have to continue to organize, continue to build, and continue to go to another level. And I hope that uh, some things came out of that individuals could really open up a mind. But one thing I wanted to mention, for instance, we need to have an understanding of economics, of course, and studying the work of Amos Wilson, of course, and Claude Anderson, but we also need to understand the Walter Rodneys, how Europe underdeveloped Africa, and also the Manning Marbles, how America underdeveloped Black America. One is able to strategically position oneself to empower the community in a very tactful way to move forward. So, with that being said, to Brother Professor Ball, and for those who may not know, Brother Jared, he's a professor at Morgan State, so he does have occupation per se in teaching communications, and he also runs a Mix What I Like. I'm sorry, blog. That's his brand. I Mix What I Like. So he's done a significant amount of work. And I may have had him a few times as well on different things, different audiences, and he was on PFW for quite some time, Jazz and Justice, I believe. Yes. So with that being said, again, I think there's definitely some key points that he makes about the charging of people for certain types of knowledge that could potentially get people out of debt and get people out of slavery, economic impoverishment. But one of the key things that Brother Ball talks about is how we must, be politically active. I don't know if he said it. It's a full clip. You all can see it. It's a full clip out there, but tentatively, we have to recognize that ultimately we have to have a critical, well thought out strategy. Now, Professor Ball, he ran as a Green Party candidate for vice president. I'm sorry, he was a vice presidential candidate. I'm not sure if he was with Cynthia McKinney at that time. If I'm not mistaken, he was the vice presidential candidate with Cynthia McKinney, and he has done some push for third party politics. Now, one of the key people that both Boyce Watkins, and I'm sure Brother Ball, I believe he was a University of Maryland graduate student, so I'm sure he has to be aware of the work of Professor Ron Walters, who has several books out. One, Black Political Politics, as well as Black Political Politics from 1972 to 2000. And he wrote one, Conservative Policy and White Nationalism, I believe, is one of his other books that he wrote. But one of the things I have to synergize and recognize is that many of us are living hand to mouth, and we have to do what we need to do. So we cannot or will not afford to think that, we're going to wait for somebody to be in an elected position to offer us anything. So, and this is why you have people out in the streets doing what they need to do to survive. And so getting money is going to be the foundation and fundamental aspect of all of our operations. So with that being said, I think we have to be very critical and careful when we say, for instance, that, we shouldn't be looking at business, or, I'm not saying we shouldn't be looking at business, but you're like, yes, we need to eat. We need to make money. We need skills. Not everybody's going to be, per se, a college professor, right? So, ultimately, people are going to have to learn various job development skills, and we need leaders. Brother Ball, we need leaders, Boyce Watkins, that are going to teach these skills. So I don't know what Boyce Watkins is teaching for $50 to Baltimore, but let's just, I'll go into, let me play some of, this is an old thing. Now, I know that, these folks had some disagreements, Boyce and what's her name? Shoot, I don't know. You'll see her, but let me share the screen. And they've had some disagreements, but I just want to post that so people need to know just what's going on.
And when I go to Dr. Kevin Cosby's church, when I go to St. Stephen's in Louisville, Kentucky, the Angela Project, that's one of the cornerstones of what we talk about. We talk about what is owed, and we advocate for what is owed. And I give Dr. Cosby credit for putting that first and forefront and putting his money where his mouth is. And we're going to get to that. But one of the things everybody going to have to learn is that you're not going to fire shots at me. And I'm not fire back. No. We just not going to do that. We're not going to do this thing where you fire shots at me and my project to divert attention away from everything that is happening with you in these lawsuits, and you expect me to just kind of fall back and not address it. Understand that that's not going to happen. There will be no quarter given. So I'm going to get into I'm just going to get into it all and understand. When people, I don't get into any of this, but one of the things we were trying, Antonio and I, we were there as a project. We tried to get Reverend Jesse Jackson to kind of push for some stuff, like the movement that we're on and the direction that we're on. We're trying to move a lot of stuff behind closed doors. And you are in the way. You are like this wart man that won't go away. Now, I don't think it's really, part of the reason I didn't come at you is because I don't really think you're a problem no more. Because one of the things that Paris said in that video, which was very true, is you got to be buying your subscribers. There's no way that you get 1 to 2 to 3,000 views on your video and you got 300,000 subscribers or whatever. It don't make no sense. You think about the fact that I have 50,000 and I get anywhere from 15 to 25,000 views out of that 50. First of all,
they're showing a commercial. I don't have this.
Imagine if life was like using the software. If you felt like you weren't quite using things the way they were intended to be used.
This is why I need to.
It's the easier way.
This is why.
That's some con man stuff to do. And y'all got to stop saying, well, everybody do it. Everybody don't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I don't do it. Everybody on my channel is organic. I have not bought not one subscriber. I have not bought not one view. Everything that you see, if you see 10,000 or 12,000 or 15,000 or 20,000 or 25 or 30 or 35,000 views on my channel, that's because those people.
I didn't want to talk about that, y'all. I wanted to get to the.
It's coming from slaves. That's why they control everything. Are you misunderstanding what I'm saying? Am I speaking a foreign language? Am I an alien? That's why your business didn't work. How you gonna teach us? Everything I say here explains why your stuff didn't work. And then you're gonna still get on the video with Boyce and say, "Well, we can do it too. We just gotta." I don't know. What did you say? Harvest tilapia? What kind of weird answers y'all giving out now? Or maybe you'll just attack me again with some personal stuff that's not.
All right. So I was trying to find a particular part. I can't remember where it was, but I wanted to really dig into just the fact of the matter is that there are certain types of businesses that we are going to have to be creating. And I'm not sure, for instance, if there are certain populations that are not necessarily ready to be paying $50 for a particular workshop. There are, some individuals who may be ready for institutional purchases and massive investments or larger scale investments. But, I think that ultimately we have to find a synergistic strategy. Now, I am prepared over the next few weeks to go to, Tanzania and South Africa. And Tanzania is an investment tour. And I know that some people would say, why are you considering investing in Africa? Why are we encouraging Black people here to invest in Africa? Well, the one thing that no one's making any more of in today's society is land. Now, it would be nice, for instance, if we had political individuals, political thinkers that thought about that. But that large or that far, leaders see things faster, leaders see things farther. But unfortunately, many don't have that global analysis. And so I have to make, a sacrifice and say, it is what it is. Whatever happens, it's going to happen. But, I have to be fiscally astute enough and have enough emotional intelligence to understand the dynamics of global investing, for instance. And so this is why, I'm moving in these directions. And of course, we have the 5th annual Artisan Conference in South Africa. So definitely look forward to that. And, that's coming up in November. But I'm preparing to get ready to go. Dr. Frazier is speaking this evening. I'll be heading down to Prince George's County. Just the other day, there was an event with several of the political individuals in Prince George's County. And then tomorrow there's a breakfast with Maggie Anderson, who's the Empowerment Hour year of Black Empowerment, where she went around and only spent her dollars with Black individuals for 1 year. So we just have to applaud that. I know that there may not be this overwhelming sense of appreciation for that, but I'm sure that, somebody ate off of her, off of her movement, some business, some child ate for a day. So it's the little things sometimes that matter, in people's lives. So we have to be very careful. So Maggie Anderson did a tremendous job, and as well as Brother Ron Bugsby will be present for that. That's going to be an awesome opportunity for you all to see and hear. He's the chair, the president of the United States Black Chamber, over 100 and something chambers all over the country, all over the U.S. and 6 countries in Africa. So he's thinking big on that level. And of course, Dr. George Frazier He's the keynote for tomorrow, for tomorrow's breakfast and brunch. I'm sorry, brunch it is. So looking forward to all of that. So I just encourage everybody to stay connected. And, I think ultimately with these movements, of course, we have to be very astute in terms of who we give our money to, and are they investing in the Black community, or are they attempting to splurge and buy Bentleys and live in $2 million houses like some online people that we know. And one thing, if, for instance, we have to ask questions, what are people doing with this money? I mean, some people want to buy schools, they want to buy big buildings or whatever. And, we got to start saying what it's going to be. We need training centers. I mean, that's basically it. Training centers that's training people for, skills, job readiness, and as well as life skills, smaller life skills trainings, like GD. What's going to have the greatest impact on the common brother on the street. If that's what we're saying, our movements is about empowering our people. We need life skills and these soft skills, teaching people, civilization. The NOI had civilization classes, teaching you how to think, how to act, how to maneuver in society. So, but it depends on who your audience. If your audience is six-figure, $1 million earners, you can charge $50, $100, $250, or whatever to acquire a client. So with that being said, I just want to say, but and also to Professor Ball, I would hope that you all are supporting various political candidates. It would be nice if I saw Brother Ball in certain spaces, or attempted to synergize. I just don't know if a Green Party or a Ujima Party or anything is going to get any traction to make any substantial penetration, or get somebody elected to any position. So I'm not sure where that's going to end. But I also don't know to what level, for instance, that some of these elected officials, their actual benefit, or what they actually, what good they actually do. So with that being said, I say, if you desire to do so, support the Tanzania South Africa tour. Go to Teaching Artists Institute Facebook page, of course, and you can go to other pages to find out more about my work. But I'm heading out, and we are making progress. For those that are interested in investing in some Tanzanian operations, there's land there. All you need to do is have a plan and a strategy, and the acres it can be yours, or the acre. Start off small with what your vision may be. So we are definitely looking forward. But yeah, so I started out originally talking about Dr. Jared Ball versus Boyce Watkins. As you see, they may have a discussion / debate about Black economics versus Black politics. I can appreciate much of the insights. I would hope that individuals can move towards investing their time first in supporting conscious Black candidates, if there are any, but also supporting economic initiatives that make sense, land ownership, job training, not just any museums or any schools, that don't necessarily, create the level of skills that people need. We need job readiness skills and life skills. So that's all I have to say. Just want to drop that and offer my opinions and analysis. I said I want to do 30 minutes, and I'm just about there. So hope you all are doing well, and we are out. Peace and blessings.